Good evening, everybody. It is 7 p.m. in New York City and 7 p.m. in Peconic, New York. I'm Sam Kimball from New York Wine Events. Thank you so much for joining us for a virtual day trip to wine country. We're here for an awesome wine and cheese pairing, a midsummer's pairing of some great white wines and some really, truly delicious cheeses. But big emphasis on the wines tonight. We're going to a special place in the Long Island wine region, specifically Peconic Bay Vineyards. And our theme for the session is every great bottle of wine starts in the vineyard, and you need to pair every great bottle of wine with delicious cheese. So a quick bit of history about the Long Island wine region. Some of you may know this, others may not. It is a very young wine growing region. The first grapes were planted just 48 years ago by Louisa Hargrave. Louisa Hargrave moved to Long Island in the early 70s, and she founded Long Island's first commercial vineyard and winery, Hargrave Vineyard, in 1973. And she was the first person to plant grapes in the ground in what was already a very storied agricultural region. And with more sunshine than any other place in New York State, sandy loam soils and a climate moderated by the sparkling waters of the Atlantic Gulf Stream and the North Fork intrigued her with its extraordinary promise. Today, 48 years later, there are over 50 wineries on the North Fork of Long Island, many of them award-winning wineries. The early days, they were just getting started, learning how to make wine. And today you have wineries that are winning national and regional and even international awards. So we're in for a real treat tonight. I have tasted the wines personally that are coming out of Peconic Bay Vineyards, and they are outstanding. Perfect summer whites. So what's the deal with Peconic Bay Vineyards? They have some of the oldest planted vines on the North Fork of Long Island. They have some very unique clones, vines that were planted for certain varietals like Sauvignon Blanc. All of those unique clones are French. And their winery was actually one that for the last 9 years was closed and yet continued growing grapes and cultivating the vineyards. And they ended up selling those grapes to other wineries during that time. But this year, in 2021, they brought everything back in-house. They've reopened Peconic Bay Winery, and it's really exciting. Renovation, it's beautiful. It's a great place to visit and taste wine. Originally, the first Peconic Bay Winery vineyard manager was the brother of the first person to ever grow grapes on the North Fork of Long Island, and that would be one, wait for it, Louisa Hargrave, who we just mentioned. Today in 2021, the winemaker who's there and is doing an amazing job is actually a protege of that original vineyard manager. And also today, the winery ownership is the Soloviev family, which has significant agricultural land ownership and stewardship around the US. So there are a lot of great people connected to and involved with this winery, Peconic Bay Vineyards. And I am really excited to do the session this evening. I want to welcome everybody. Welcome one, welcome all. Please, if you would, hit us up in the chat in Zoom with any questions or comments along the way. And we will answer those as we go on the fly in real time during the session. And if you would also, speaking of the chat, hit the chat right now and tell us where in the world you are tuning in from. We love to see the geographic diversity of all the folks who join us. That's one of the great things and fun things about our virtual tastings. Wow, Oklahoma. Welcome, Sheila. Great to see you. It's always a pleasure. Oh, Nancy from Long Island. Welcome back, Nancy. West Orange, New Jersey. Awesome. Christopher is drinking a great Peconic Bay Vineyards Chardonnay right now. Vancouver, Washington. Wow. Huntington, New York. Welcome, Christopher. Welcome, Holly, Janet. Great group. Wow. Awesome. Some new faces and some familiar faces, which is great to see. So this evening we're going virtually, traveling virtually to the Peconic, New York, which is about 90 miles due east of New York City, to Peconic Bay Vineyards. Let's take a look, if we can, of the map of where we're headed. I'll show it to you in the back of in my background here. Let's see. Bear with me, everybody. I'm gonna grab this. A little glass of water. All right, so here in my background, you can see the red map pin all the way out at the end of Long Island, about 90 miles from east of New York City, of Times Square. You'll find Peconic, New York. And one of the great things you'll notice is that it's surrounded by water. And that's that maritime climate that we were talking about earlier. And let me go back to our shot of the winery here in front. That gives you a sense of where we are geographically. And so without further ado, I want to bring in our guests tonight, two of these stalwarts and the key people running Peconic Bay Vineyards. That is Ken Cereola, the general manager, and Evan Ducz, the tasting room and hospitality manager. Welcome, guys. It's great having you guys on the broadcast tonight.
Great to be here, Sam. Thanks so much for including us.
Thanks, Sam. Excited to be here.
Well, I'm really excited because I absolutely love your wines. I only tasted them for the first time about 3 weeks ago, and I was blown away. And so I was really excited that we could do this tonight, and especially excited that we're going to pair a cheese with each wine. Really quickly, we'll jump right into it with a couple of questions about the winery, the background, the origins. We had a couple people ask, one person asked if we use a third-party shipper, or if there's a store, for example, like I mentioned, Kenny, that people could order these wines from, that if they're not in New York State.
I will put my email in the chat, and we'll get some wine to you.
All right. Well, you heard it here.
We'll make it happen.
Yes.
Some way, somehow, we'll get the wine to you.
Excellent. All right. So you opened up after 9 years of the winery and the tasting room being closed on May 1st of this year, 2021. Newly renovated, beautiful new winery building, tasting room, new wines. What's the reaction been so far, guys?
Super positive. You know, so many people have been excited to see that we're open again. Obviously, it's under new ownership, but I think most importantly, a lot of people see familiar faces with Evan and I. We've had the privilege to work on the east end of Long Island for close to 20 years now. We've worked alongside each other at Palmer Vineyards for about 5 years before reuniting here at Peconic Bay Vineyards. So the response has been great. I mean, everybody's super excited that we're here. They're loving the environment. They love the vibe that we have. The wines really speak for themselves. But most importantly, I think that they're super thrilled to see familiar faces. So often businesses are taken over, purchased from one another, and they kind of, new ownership may bring in, their own. And the Cereola family was very driven to find the right personalities and local people to kind of man the ship. And Evan and I we're just so excited and thrilled and grateful for this opportunity, because here on Long Island, you don't get an opportunity really to build something from the ground up. So we're so stoked about that.
You have some fans, Evan. Christopher just said you're an awesome guy. So I would agree. I concur. I've worked with both of you for years now, and I worked with you extensively at Palmer. And I can say that you guys bring a special element to the experience that people have at the winery. And I think that you also have such a amazing kind of focus on the local nature of winemaking and of even the food you guys have at the winery is a lot. So much of it is locally sourced, and it complements the wine, like the oysters and other things. So I can only say, I can echo what you just said. I think that's one of the big pluses. So your slogan is a great bottle of wine starts in the vineyard. What does that mean for you and for the winemaker and the vineyard manager, you know, on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis as you manage the winery?
Just a tremendous focus on detail, from all of our equipment to communication with one another. I think a lot of people take for granted really what goes into a single bottle of wine. And everything really starts out in the farm. And it's so important, especially on the North Fork of Long Island, the east end of Long Island. It's a challenging region to produce wine. That challenge has brought in great winemakers that want that challenge. And it forces everybody to really put even that much more drive and attention to detail in everything that starts from that farm, from the farm to the cellar to the table, you know.
And what's exciting here is now, besides Peconic Bay and the 2 vineyards that they owned when the Solovia family bought it, they purchased some other local vineyards. So we have about 125 acres under vine right now. We have one property that's an early planting of Palmer vineyards that we're doing a huge replanting of, which is going to give us the opportunity to really get creative with different grape varieties, clonal selections. So we're planting a number of really interesting varieties, some that are already out here, and a number of wineries that have, well, there aren't too many wineries that have some of the grapes that we're going to be planting, but they've seen some success, and we think we can, you know, continue that.
Are you at your liberty to give us any of a preview of what some of those grape varietals are coming up?
Sure.
We have Chenin Blanc that'll be planted, Albarino, to name a few.
Pinot Gris.
Pinot Gris.
Pinot Blanc.
Pinot Blanc. There'll be more Malbec will be planted, which we do have at the moment, but more Malbec. So definitely some exciting varietals. I think the winemaker has a couple surprises for us too that we're not privy to at the moment. I know he's been researching and looking into a couple different things, but again, we're very excited. Our portfolio is super versatile. Evan mentioned our acreage. We're adding to that. So we're excited to work with those grapes. And back to the question, I mean, we just are so focused on attention to detail with everything, the equipment. We're surrounded by a great team of workers that we have that focus on everything that they need to focus on. And the result speaks for itself.
I just noticed, Evan, you put your email into the chat. Let me send this around to the whole group. So everybody watching, Evan's email is going into the chat here. And if you want to order the wine and you're not in New York State, you can email Evan directly to facilitate. Talk about the tasting room and hospitality, and you know, there's 50 plus wineries now. It's only been 40 something years later. There's 50 plus wineries on the North Fork. How do you make a point of difference between what you're doing there? What are some of the elements of the experience? I know you have a cool new tour that you take people out in the vineyard on a vehicle. Like, talk about hospitality and things that you're doing to innovate and that are new and interesting for people who are going to visit the winery.
I mean, I think that the number one thing is for us, especially after the year of the pandemic, I think people really want to have some cool experiences. You know, people have been dying to get out, and people really want to spend time with their friends, their family, and go out and experience something cool, maybe that they've never had before. So we're trying to provide that here with vineyard tours via MOC, which are electric vehicles, picnic reservations where you have a beautiful picnic setting within a vineyard row. And we
So you
try
guys will actually like take a picnic table and set it up out in the rows of vines?
It's even cooler than that. So it's actually a shale shade attached to the vineyard posts with a beautiful blanket, pillows.
Wow.
You get a tasting bottle of wine, and we try to incorporate education into these experiences as well, because that's really important to us. But we want to do it with really some approachability. You know, that's our main objective, to just be very approachable. Wine can sometimes, you know, be a little intimidating to people, and that is exactly the opposite of what Ken and I are about. You know, approachability and being welcoming and warm, and really letting people kind of find their way within wine and within our wines, while educating them at the second time.
Yeah, and that's a big part of our mission too, is that we're all about discovery of, you know, new wines and varietals, but we're also all about education, and not in the, you know, sort of pedantic academic way, just education about where are these products from, where are these wines, how are they grown, how are they produced. And that's one of the things that we love about this series of virtual tastings, but also, you know, the tours that we do in the vineyards, in New York State, in Italy. It's all about getting out to where these wines are made, and that's exciting.
And we're very fortunate, Sam. We also we have a farm stand located on our vineyard property, where we actually grow and sell a lot of our own produce, flowers. We grow our own sunflowers, lavender, vegetables, everything from pumpkins to cauliflower, zucchini. That's exciting. Peaches, to name some fruits, which is really nice. So we actually take people on an electric MOC from the tasting room, and we drive them over to the farm stand where they could kind of cruise around and get a few items that they like, that we locally grow on some of our farms out here. They get a kick out of that experience. That's
great. Now, do you guys actually grow that produce yourself?
Yeah, we do.
Wow.
Yep.
And that's sort of a subsidiary of the operation. I mean, obviously it's not the same staff or crew. Yeah.
Yeah, whole different crew.
Wow.
All under Crossroads Agricultural brand. So, like you said earlier, we incorporate a lot of everything that we're growing. We even try to bring to the plate. We serve our own honey that we make. We have our own bee colony here, and we serve that honey on our cheese plates. So it's pretty exciting. And those are the things that we feel kind of separate us from the pack, you know, that we actually, when you have our cheese and charcuterie board, you know, 30-40% of the product that's on that board is actually grown by Crossroads Agriculture and, you know, Peconic Bay Vineyards. So we're pumped about that.
That is so cool. I mean, that's, you know, that's, as a marketing person, I would say that's something you want to trumpet from the mountaintops, because it's unique. There's not a lot of the other producers and wineries in your region who do that. I mean, they may have partners who grow stuff, but to actually have it be part of their operation is really cool. So let's jump into tasting wine, shall we? Tell us a little bit about what wines and cheeses we're tasting today. I know that we've kind of set it up where the wine paired with a cheese, there are 4 selections.
Yep.
And I think we're going to start with a Sauvignon Blanc, yeah?
Yes, we are. So we're tasting 4 white wines today. Our first 4 releases under Peconic Bay Vineyards. And we have those 4 wines paired with 4 cheeses that happen to be mostly local and New York State. But you can certainly pair them with, cheeses from outside of New York for the people outside of New York.
So let's talk about wine number 1.
Yep, Sauvignon Blanc. So this is a really beautiful wine. It's probably my favorite wine right now. This was the last planting that Peconic Bay Winery did before they closed. So this was planted in 2010, and Greg Gove, our winemaker, was the winemaker back then. he decided to select 3 really interesting clones of Sauvignon Blanc to plant. They're all French clones, 530, 376, and clone 27. And the thing that's different about these clones from most of what else is planted on the North Fork, it really doesn't have those kind of green, herbal, or grassy notes. It's got a little more tropical fruit, definitely a lot of grapefruit.
Zesty lime.
Yep, big time. This is going to be paired with the fresh chev. Our fresh chev happens to be from a farm about 5 miles down the road, Catapano. They specialize in goats. So this is a fresh chev goat cheese. And what I like about it, it's got that little bit of tanginess that just pairs perfectly with that beautiful acidity of the Sauvignon Blanc.
That's a really nice pairing. Really nice. You hit it on the nail on the head, Evan.
Thank you.
The cheese brings a little of that extra oomph, and then the acidity of the Sauv Blanc just sort of melts with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really nice. And this is one of your flagship selections, but it's still very accessibly priced. It's $28. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
So the production on this wine was extremely small this year, or for 2020 last year. So last year, most of our grapes were still contracted out. We brought in a small amount because we were just opening about halfway through the year. So how many cases are we at?
205 cases was the production on this wine.
Very
Wow.
small.
So super small production. Again, major attention to detail. It's such a beautifully balanced wine. Sauvignon Blanc has definitely taken over the East End as being like the go-to summertime wine.
Absolutely.
So it pairs beautifully with the cheese we have here, also with all the local seafood dishes that the East End is known for. But only 205 cases of this wine was produced. That's very small production.
It's going fast too.
And it's going extremely fast.
It's already, we kind of had a feeling would be a staff favorite, and it was right out of the gate. We didn't release it initially. It's only been released for 2 or 3 weeks now. But everyone's been loving it. So it's flying out the door.
I got to tell you, I feel privileged to have gotten one of the bottles here. We're going to guard this one. We're going to hide it in the fridge here at my house.
Thank you, Sam.
Excellent. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is move to a Viognier.
Yep.
And talk, if you guys will, a little bit about Viognier as a grape. What is it? Where is it from? And why does it thrive, which it does, on the North Fork?
So Viognier is a French varietal that I think is really only started to gain popularity out here within the last maybe
Decade or so?
Yeah, just about. Again, this was part of that last planting that Peconic Bay Winery did when they planted that Sauvignon Blanc in 2010. They planted like an acre Viognier. So they really only got one vintage out of the Viognier Blanc before it closed down. And now 10 years later, these vines are much more mature. And Viognier actually does relatively well out here. It needs some irrigation, but it grows in some looser clusters, which is great because we get a ton of humidity, moisture, which is important against disease pressure. But what I like most about Viognier is that it is really soft. It's not, we have really nice natural acidity out here in all of our wines. And this wine certainly does, but to me, it's just a touch softer than the Sauvignon Blanc, than the Steel Chardonnays. And for summertime, it is, I like to use the term crushable. People on a hot day, people are pounding this wine.
Yeah.
Now this is like the Sauv Blanc. This is stainless steel fermented only, yeah?
Yes.
Yep. Super soft, like Evan said, very approachable wine, easy drinking. And most importantly, Viognier has a very, very floral aroma to it. It's one of those wines, as soon as you open the bottle, before it even hits the glass, you could kind of get a lot of aromatics out of a Viognier. which I find beautiful in wines. When you get that strong aromatic notes to the wine in the beginning, that's so important. And Viognier displays that as one of the best as far as white wines are concerned. This is the wine here, Sam and everybody, that we recommend with our local oysters. We have a local oyster bar here at the winery, and this pairs extremely well with the local oysters that we have.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, it's amazing for something that's stainless steel fermented. It literally it has so much flavor and aromatics. It's almost like it was oak barrel aged. You know,
and people ask if it is.
Well, I think that Mark just asked, is it? I think he's referring to malolactic fermentation, and I think the answer is no. There is none in this.
No malolactic. This grape, there was a touch of lees aging, stirring of the lees, a little bit of batonnage, which is stirring those dead yeast cells up on the bottom of the tank, and that adds a little bit of texture. But Viognier naturally has quite a bit of texture to it. And again, like Ken mentioned, the aromatics are what makes Viognier pretty special as well. It's one of the reasons why they blend it with Syrah to really pop on the nose.
And we have someone that said this is better than Bedell's, and that's a huge compliment because we both love Bedell. Rich is a wonderful winemaker at Bedell. He does really beautiful things, and they've had Viognier for a while. Palmer Vineyards has Viognier. We have it. So that's a huge compliment because we're proud of this wine. Production on this wine was around 550 cases.
Yeah, this one is great too. This one, when I came to the tasting room 3 weeks ago, blew me away, as well as the Sauvignon Blanc. Sheila is asking, what's the cheese pairing?
So the cheese pairing with this, we thought this would go well with a Manchego, like a younger version. I
thought it was the cheddar for this one, Evan. Or is it Manchego with the Chardonnay? Or do we get those?
Manchego with the Viognier. I'm sorry.
Viognier. Okay, so ignore the screen, everybody. This is Manchego with the Viognier.
So this wine, this cheese, I'm sorry, the one that Ken and I are actually having is called Danchego. This is from Good Ale Farms in Aquabog.
Yep.
So it's their version of a Manchego. It's a 3-month aged, and both of these cheeses have like well, the cheese and the wine have that creamy texture to them, and it's a pretty mild cheese. You know, they really kind of melds really well with the wine.
Yeah, it's super nice. I'm having these I'm just doing the cheeses, no crackers, no nothing with the wine.
Same over here.
Same here.
And
Real nice.
I have to apologize, guys. I made a last minute change at the line there. I was tasting these cheeses before, and I picked up the Manchego, and I thought that it went better with the Viognier. So I apologize.
No worries. Well, we will not hold it against you.
Call me Peyton. I audibled right at the line. I'm sorry.
And that's a super price accessible one as well. $22 for the Viognier.
And we want it to be that way. We want it to be one of those wines that you could just pack in your cooler to go to the beach, have at the pool. Buy this wine by the case. It's wonderful wine when you're having a party over because it kind of pleases all palates. Like we've been saying, it's got that finesse and balance. It's a softer style wine. It's not intrusive in any kind of way. So approachable price point, quality is there, and designed, like I said, to be purchased in a sense to really be enjoyed casually at the beach, poolside, take on the boat.
Yeah, no, this one is really nice. What's the alcohol content in these first two, by the way?
The Sauvignon Blanc is
12.
The Sauvignon Blanc is 12.5.
Yeah, very light.
And the Viognier is 11.5. Yeah,
there's your crusher wine. Like,
so that's
there's
what
your wine.
Referred to. Yep.
Take to the beach, take to the pool, and you're just sipping on it all day, especially in this hot weather. So, hey, Nancy, yeah, Good Ale. The cheeses are great.
Yep.
You can also get amazing cheese when you're out on the East End, which I know you are from time to time, at the Mattatuck Village Cheese Shop.
Yep.
And there's a brand new shop in West Hampton Beach, which is not far away, that's really good, called the Mill Road Cheese Shop. And I actually got my cheeses there today, they're really good. All right, so the next one we're going to go to a Chardonnay. Now, this 2020 Chardonnay we're going to pair with the cheddar, Evan?
Yes, sir. I made the audible there. We're going to pair this with the cheddar.
Yep.
It would even go nice with like a slightly more aged, like a farmhouse cheddar.
Yep.
But this is also still fermented.
No oak, no malolactic, none of that.
Nope. All still fermented. So this is made from a block of Chardonnay on our home farm here. And it is a Musqué clone of Chardonnay. So you can have a Musqué clone of different grapes. You can have Sauvignon Blanc Musqué, Chardonnay Musqué. And really what that means, it's a very aromatic clone. They don't know the exact clone. They haven't done any DNA analysis on these particular vines. They call them suitcase clones because they really don't know where they came from. They just kind of arrived.
Yeah, they snuck in on a flight from JFK.
Exactly, yeah. So, but it is a Musqué clone. They kind of determine that just from the varietal characteristics and the wine that it produces every year. So it's really, really aromatic. So we tend to want to use this wine for our steel fermented Chardonnay. We also do make a barrel fermented Chardonnay. And typically for that, we have Dijon clones 95 and 96 planted. So typically for the barrel fermented Chardonnay, we're using the Dijon, and the steel, we use this Musqué clone, it's kind of perfumey. It almost mimics a Sauvignon Blanc.
I love it. And I'm kind of a fan of oak aged Chardonnay, but I do like any Chardonnay really. And this one, you're right. This one has like flavor.
Yep.
FLAVA. I mean, it's got like, it's pungent.
Yeah.
Great.
It's got big flavor. I mean, it definitely, you would recognize it as a steel Chardonnay. It definitely has green apple.
Yep.
But there's this like little bit of kind of citrus note in there that you're like, is that a Sauvignon Blanc? Maybe, I'm not really sure. But and then the nose on the wine is really interesting. It's super intense and perfumey.
It has too much of a Chardonnay classic mouthfeel for it to be a Sauv Blanc.
Exactly right, Sam.
Really nice. Wow. I lied. I didn't taste this one. This is the first time I've had it.
Yeah.
Great.
I love it. I totally love it. I'm a sucker for an oak aged Chardonnay, but when I find a steel fermented Chard like this that's got a ton of flavor characteristics and aromatics, man, what's the alcohol content on this one, Kenny?
On the Chardonnay, that should be, what is it, 12.5?
13.
Still very approachable.
Super approachable, super well balanced. Again, a great price point. You showed the bottle before earlier, $25. Cool artwork. It was a little hard to see there on the photo, but just to give you an idea, it's a little rowboat in the corner there. And every year, what we're going to do with this label is have a local artist do a design, and every year that image will change, and it's always going to be kind of inspired by everything based around Peconic Bay. So next year, a local artist is doing an egret, the bird, for us. And they'll kind of go through as the years move along. We hope there'll be collector's item for people, and kind of pay homage to some of the local artists that are so talented out here. So this is the first one of the series. And then, like I said, every year we'll be changing. Just that simple artwork in the corner will change. The wine will stay the same.
No, it's this one is delicious. This is a little bit of this was a surprise for me actually tonight.
Perfect.
I didn't know what to expect, and I love this Chardonnay. I just want to show, when we're talking about Peconic Bay, and I agree with Paul, that's a really nice touch to have that kind of revolving graphic, Kenny, from year to year with the boat. Let me show everybody again the map, because I think it's worth pointing out. I mean, if you're talking about Peconic Bay, I mean, the name of the winery is Peconic Bay Vineyards. You guys are like a stone's throw. That big body of water in between the two forks, the North Fork and the South Fork, is Peconic Bay.
So the back end of our property, Sam, here at the vineyard, there's a creek that actually comes basically right to the property line that you could get in a little paddle boat and make your way out to Peconic Bay. The Cereola family also has farms, as you can see there, throughout the North Fork. We have a lot of farms that are overlooking Peconic Bay and just set up for a beautiful backdrop. Peconic Bay in itself is just it's an amazing place. Everything from the environment of fish to bird life to shellfish to boating, and it has everything. So the inspiration behind that bottle was to keep that lively and interesting, and you know, like we said, get some local artists involved, let them be part of this journey, and we're excited. We're going to start sending out some emails to our wine club where they could actually suggest some sort of image that they would like to see on a label, which we think will be kind of cool and interactive, you know?
No, that's great. And yeah, Peconic Bay is such an ecosystem, you know, for everything from shellfish, oysters, scallops, just incredible. Striped bass, you know.
Yeah.
How do you join the wine club, Nancy asks?
Great. I mean, the best thing to do at the moment would be, and we want to encourage everybody, we're in the process of building out our website. Obviously, there was so many things that were going into getting this launched and opened up, and so we're in the process of getting our website really cleaned up and done the right way. The biggest focus for us right now has been our Instagram at Peconic Bay Vineyards, is where we hope you guys will follow us. We keep it really exciting and keep everything fresh. There's a link there on the profile, right? On the profile page there, that you would be able to click into join our wine club, and it will take you through that process. And we'd love for you guys to be part of that. You know, we're proud to showcase these wines, and there's so much more than just the purchase of quarterly wines, you know, to be part of our club.
Yes, Sam put the website up as well. You can find the link right on the website as well.
Great.
Nancy, I know your tastes a little bit. You are going to love these wines. You're going to fall in love with these wines. All right, so rounding third and coming in towards home, we're going to do the fourth wine and cheese. And I'm excited because I got a great blue cheese for this.
What do you got? What you got?
Final wine. I got like a Stilton, you know, like not the crazy, like stinky Stilton, but the really like nice medium level. And it's super good. And it goes with the Riesling. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And this is kind of a semi-sweet, semi-dry Riesling. Yeah.
Yeah, this is slightly off dry. So the Riesling here at Peconic Bay, some of the older planted Riesling on the North Fork, if not some of the oldest, late 70s, early 80s planted.
Wow.
Clone unknown, but what I really find interesting about some of these Rieslings is their longevity. I recently went in the library, or what's left of the library from Peconic Bay Winery, when Greg was making the wines. You know, one of the staples here was Riesling.
He's won some international awards,
Yeah.
Sam, on his Riesling.
He's like the Riesling whisperer out here. And you know, I think it definitely has something to do with the vineyard management. It has something to do with the way he handles the Riesling when he gets it. But the longevity of these wines, it's incredible. I opened up a 2005 Riesling from Greg the other day, and it's amazing. It's still alive. It's still kicking, and it has this amazing petrol character that if anyone knows really good Riesling, old Riesling from Alsace and Mosel, that is a characteristic that you only find in some of the best Rieslings in the world.
This is really refined. I love the color. I don't know if you can see my glass. Super light. It is off dry. It's got a little bit of sweetness, but it's not cloying. It's not too much. And to answer Mark's question, the alcohol level is only 11%.
Actually, Sam, if you don't mind, our winemaker actually just stepped in.
Timing.
So we're doing a virtual tasting here, and they just want to say hello.
Hello.
And we're tasting the Riesling. Greg
Okay.
Gove.
Hey, Greg. Well, such surprise guest. Great to see you. Well, say hello to everybody. You got people from all over the country, Oklahoma, California,
Really?
various parts of the East Coast. So, and we're doing the last wine. We're tasting the Riesling with a blue cheese.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I'm a big fan of all kinds of blue. Stropshire, Roaring 40s.
So it's great to have you. So we've been talking about the rebirth of the winery, and under the Peconic Bay Vineyards flag, and we've been singing the praises of these 4 white wines, which we've been pairing with some great cheeses. We said every great bottle starts in a vineyard, but every great bottle has to be paired with a delicious cheese. So that was the theme for tonight.
Yes. Buy an apple, sell on cheese. I'm sure you've heard that one.
Exactly. So could you tell us a little bit about, like, Evan was just singing your praises as really a whisperer of Rieslings. We were just loving this Riesling off dry. We're about to taste it with the blue cheese.
Okay.
How did you come up with it this way, and what was the development of this wine and your approach?
I was here for about 14 years before the rebirth of the winery. And so I had a very good vineyard manager named Charles Hargrave, who planted the first grapes in 1971 on Long Island. And it takes a lot of extra work with Riesling. There's a lot of phenolic compounds in the skins, so you have to handle them very gently. So you hand pick, you don't destem them, you just whole cluster press, and you just handle them very gently. I've heard of other wineries machine picking and destemming, and then they have to go back later with fining agents to try to pull out bitter compounds, and that just takes away flavor. So I just sort of do everything right in the vineyard. This particular vintage had a rough time, so we spent a lot of time picking by hand and then knocking out any off berries, and it turned out pretty nice. I like to use a yeast, a German yeast that is cold intolerant, and so I can control the fermentation. So near the end, I just turn on the cooling and I can stop it pretty easily. This one, I stopped it around 20 grams per liter or 2% sugar. I like to do that because I keep the acid really high so that the wine feels sweet but doesn't taste sweet. So you don't get that cloying character to it. And also the wine tends to be very stable. The pH generally is below 3, and I keep very low sulfur levels with that according to the pH. But I've had older ones I made since 1998 at this place, and the Rieslings have held up really well.
This one is delicious. I love an off-dry Riesling, and this is reminiscent, and this is meant as a real compliment. This is reminiscent of some really nice off-dry Rieslings that I've had in the Finger Lakes.
This one's really unusual. I don't know where the clone came from, but what I found is that it develops that petrol character right at the end of fermentation in hot, dry years, because it's dry farmed. There's no irrigation on this block. So like years like, let's say, 2001, 2005, 2007, 2010, and 12, it'll get that petrol character right at the end of fermentation, where the German Rieslings tend to develop it in the bottle. But there's just something about this clone, and it's been very consistent with that. In cooler, wetter years, it doesn't show that. It's more of a grapefruit character.
I got to tell you, Greg, this one with the blue cheese is magic.
Oh, great. I'm glad you like it.
It's magic with the blue cheese.
Thank you, Sam.
Cool. Well, thanks.
Thank you so much,
All right,
Greg.
I'm going to run.
Greg's had a long day.
I'm going on 13 hours
yeah,
here.
appreciate
so.
that.
We'll have a virtual round of applause for Greg, the winemaker.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Okay. Have fun. Thank you.
That was awesome. You never know what you're going to find in one of our virtual tastings. The winemaker might just show up out of nowhere.
Well, we are in Greg's domain here. We're in the cellar. It's kind of windy and outside in the vineyard, so we figured, why don't we come inside and host in the winemaking facility? So we're lucky to have him stop by.
I'm having another bite of this Stilton blue cheese with this Riesling.
So
Amazing.
the blue cheese that Ken and I are having is called Ooze Blues, and it's from Hudson Sheep Herding Company up in Chatham, New York. I'm sorry, Chatham. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Chatham, New York. Yeah. It's upstate. It's about 100 miles north, 120 miles north of New York City.
Yep. So it's a sheep's milk blue, and you can find it at Whole Foods. It's really quite delicious.
No, I mean this wine with the blue cheese. I mean, Evan, I love that pairing that you prescribe for this. It's a great one to end on too. You guys have a bright future ahead of you here. You know, this new rebirth of the winery is exciting, and quite frankly, as well as I know you both, I was really, and don't take this the wrong way, I was like, wow. I mean, those wines right out of the gate and the tasting room and the whole experience at the winery, I was like, man, you know, this doesn't feel like a place that just reopened.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. I mean, we've worked really hard to create that atmosphere, and Evan and I have a great relationship in and outside of work. So, you know, all this isn't possible unless all of you are enjoying what we do, you know, and we want to welcome you to the winery and make you part of this story. We are people, and, you know, all this wine is best shared with family, friends, and be part of that story, you know? So that's what we try to bring to it.
Absolutely. And I would be remiss, I know I've mentioned it once or twice, but the way you've renovated the winery, the patio, the outdoor spaces, the landscaping, it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
And you're doing something special. And I love the Moke tours with the electric vehicle taking people out into the vineyard and over to where you grow the produce. You know, and I apologize to anybody who's here from Oklahoma or from New Jersey or even Vancouver, Washington or California. You guys need to come to New York and visit, but anybody who's within a couple hundred miles, find your way to Peconic, New York, and Peconic Bay Vineyards, because they're doing something special and the wines are also very special. So
and please, when you visit, ask for Evan or I. We're always here, and we're always excited to share time with everybody and answer questions and again show you around the facility. And
can we come back and do this again with 4 reds later in the year, maybe towards like November, December? Christopher just mentioned wait till you try the Malbec.
Yep. So we could do we could do a very unique tasting, maybe where we could pull from barrel, because a lot of red wines won't be released for another year or two. But I think that would be a really beautiful thing to taste through the barrels and have you guys be part of that. And then maybe set up some sort of like pre-order. Some wineries do that. We could get you excited about some of the reds that we'd be releasing and get the buzz out about them, because there's some right behind us. There's some really amazing wine that is right inside there. So I think that'd be a fun project to do together.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being a part of this and joining us tonight. I also want to thank everybody who tuned in and joined us for the virtual tasting. We look forward to seeing you on the next one and future ones. And also for sure, you know, if you're within striking distance of the North Fork, come on out and visit Peconic Bay. Next week, join us again here virtually online. We're going to be going to Amador County in California, Northern California, to an absolutely spectacular winery called Andis Wines, ANDIS Wines. And they make some tremendous selections there. And we'll get these guys back on soon for a red wine tasting and cheese pairing.
Absolutely.
Thank you all again. Thank you, Kenny and Evan. And we'll see you guys soon. Everybody stay safe out there.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Be well. Thank you.